Hey guys, we have another episode of Tribe of Unicorns today, and I am talking with Ms. Holly Hughes. She is an intuitive and an author and all around unicorn creative soul. So take a listen. She's talking about asking yourself some really serious questions. Do you like your life? Do you like the way you're living it? Who are you? And she has a great quote in here: life's too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in an uncomfortable relationship. So if that speaks to you, grab a cup of coffee and let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to Tribe of Unicorns. I'm your host, Kendra Beavis, and I'm sitting here today with Holly Hughes. Totally
Whoop,
your
whoop.
title. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Holly Hughes. I'm an intuitive healer and an author. I'm currently living in North Carolina, but I've lived on both coasts and we ended up here recently. Well, not recently, it's been like a decade.
Oh,
I'm just doing my thing, living my
yeah.
dream.
So when did you launch your book?
My book launched just over a week ago on
Oh my goodness.
22121. And I picked that day because it was like a portal, a woo woo
Yeah.
portal. And I just had to. I just had to.
No, that's a
So
perfect day.
yeah, people are like Sunday or launching on Sunday. I'm like, it's the Rona anyway. Like, does it matter what day of the week it is? No.
No, nobody knows
Portal,
anyway.
magic, full of love and light.
So, so you're in North Carolina now, but you
Mm-hmm.
weren't always an intuitive healer and an author, and you didn't do it in North Carolina. Where were you before this?
Oh yeah. So I grew up on Long Island, but I don't identify as a New Yorker. I went to school in DC. I lived in LA for 18 years though. I did a
Okay.
sabbatical in Colorado. After my starter marriage, I went there to kind of figure out who I was
Yeah.
and went back. I was in an airport on 9/11 and I was trying to decide if I was going to move back to New York or LA. And after that,
Decision made.
shocking. I went back to LA. And when I was in LA, I worked in film and television for those 18 years and worked my way up from nothing to being a producer. Um, and I got really good at making other people's dreams come true. And I was really good at budgeting and negotiating contracts. And I gave good phones. So working deals was great. But I had ideas. I had creative ideas, but no one wanted me to not be what they needed me to be.
Hmm.
And it took leaving LA for my own creativity to actually have space to grow and bloom. Like, honestly, funny when we, I think we were going to talk about this conversation. My husband and I, my daughter was like 2,
Yes.
and she said, we sat down, and living in LA is expensive. And I have no family there. And it was just me and my kid, and I wanted to raise her. And we had the conversation of, do we want a life where we have to work hard to get by? Or do we want one that we can enjoy? And we did the radical thing and we said, let's try to enjoy life. And we were trying to figure out where to lead, like where to go. Where do you go
Yeah.
after you lived in LA? And did all that. And we were looking at Texas and North Carolina. And my husband fell in love with like Charlotte and he got offered a great job. I don't think I told you this part in the pre-interview. This is fantastic. We moved here ourselves. We paid to pick up my entire family up and land here. And they got the keys and he had it to his office and he had business cards and he went to work and the man who had hired him had left the company. And when he showed up for work, they said, "You have no job."
No.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
They couldn't have, like, I don't know, told us a few weeks sooner. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
um my husband's like, "What do we do?" And I say, "Lemonade." And then his mother died. And
Wow.
then, like, a series of unfortunate events, like
Yeah.
Lemony Snicket should have just been here, just messing with us. And so we just rebuilt. We did. We made Lemonade. And he started his own business. And during that, I started writing. Like, I put my desk next to where, like, my kids' playroom, because that's like a North Carolina thing. You have a playroom.
Yeah.
And I just started like pursuing my writing. I had always written. I had stopped a lot when I was in production, but after a while, I started taking UCLA extension classes. I started short story and memoir and all this stuff. And I started writing personal essays. But when the minute I moved to North Carolina, like an essay of mine got picked for a play in LA.
Oh wow.
right? So it's like I had to leave where I was
Right.
to like
Go back.
expand and grow and do. And then I wrote one book and then I wrote another book. I got a literary agent. I write young adult fiction by self-help book and I do a lot of personal essays. And it's what I love. And when I'm not doing that, if I'm not creating stories or imagining awesomely strange things, it makes me sad. So it's just fundamentally who I am. And I'm so lucky that I have the ability to do it and a partner who's like all for it.
Do you think that's the key to a lot of times why people don't even ask themselves that question? How do we want to really live our lives? Because
Yeah,
they,
because people equate change with failure,
hmm yeah. Well, I
right?
think we were kind of raised that way, right? Like we grew up thinking you're going to have one career. And if you can't hold that job, if you had multiple jobs, it was looked down upon. Where now
Yeah,
I
I
feel
think
like,
our generation, you're younger than me, but I think like at a certain age bracket there is, but I think younger, more millennials are like, if this company is no good for me, I'm outie.
oh,
But that's not what I
100%.
even mean. Like even people in relationships, they're in a relationship because it's what they know
Right.
and
It's
what they know
comfortable.
isn't working. But if they leave, I failed, my marriage didn't work, or I put so much time into this relationship. And
Right.
I love helping people flip the paradigm on that. So
Hmm.
for me, like the whole thing about my book is real, not perfect. It's like, how are you defining yourself? And is that definition yours or someone else's?
Yes.
Because instead, you could be like, I spent 3 years with someone and I discovered that doesn't work for me.
Yep.
That makes me unhappy. I am depressed. I'm exhausted. I'm spent. I'm empty. And hello, that's like the world, the universe, God, whoever you need to hear say it to you saying, time to move on. It's
Right.
time to try something new. And you might not make the right choice right away, but it's about choices. Like life is about choices.
How do you advise people move past that fear of, even taking that first step away from a bad situation or something they know isn't serving them anymore?
Yeah, it all depends on the person and where they're at. Like, especially if I have a client in front of me, especially the first time I meet them, I have to figure out how much they can take in,
Yeah.
right? Because I have upset a few people because I'm pretty direct. Like I
Right.
cry a lot in my room because when I feel the messages, it comes from a source of unconditional love.
Hmm.
So when I'm speaking such a truth that's from love, I just start to cry, right? But it doesn't always mean that you're ready to hear it. Like my starter husband, his mother on our wedding day told me I don't have to do it
Oh, wow.
because she knew what he was like.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought she was evil, but she was really trying to save me. Right. She was
Yeah.
trying to save me, which she knew what was going to happen. So, you're not always ready to receive the message. Like when I was 28, I called my dad, who's, a workaholic, high achieving person who came from nothing and like built an amazing life for himself. And I called him and I was like, I can't work like you anymore. And
Yeah.
that's when I started to leave entertainment because I was so tired of those 18-hour days, plus the commute on top, or a 12 and a half, 14-hour day with an hour and a half commute each way.
Yeah.
I was spent and it wasn't fulfilling me. And I felt like I was compromising myself over and over and over again in order to get recognition, which really isn't getting recognition.
No.
You're just hurting yourself. So, like when I meet people like that, I have to find where's their wound,
Hmm.
where's the hurt that created that story. And
Okay.
your story is your emotional truth. Like I don't want anyone to think that I'm belittling the feeling. I'm not. It is your emotional truth, and how do we go about healing that so it doesn't take over your life and keep you stuck,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Because I've gone through enough trauma in my life that if I was stuck in the pain of those, I wouldn't be able to function as a person.
Right. Yeah. So you use your intuition to help people, to guide people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in what form does that come? How does that look? Is it a
I mean,
gut
all my
feeling?
clairs or
Yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about that, like how,
oops.
somebody coming and sitting with you, how do you work with them using your intuition?
Yeah, so I do in person and Zoom and phone, all depending on whatever, because of COVID, right? We had to do that. For a while, I preferred, funny enough, phone because people would like set the stage on a Zoom call, and I was like, I need to see the real you, right?
Right,
Because
right.
like you posing is pretty much a signal to me that like there's a bigger thing going on.
Yeah.
But when I work with someone, as I kind of introduce myself, I'll like just look at them and I'll tune in to them, their energy. And I start getting images in my mind. I hear whoever's talking to me, and I usually call them their people. And then I get physical reactions. I can taste things, smell things. Like I kind of get it all. Every now and
Yeah.
again, a relative will show up who hasn't been around for a while as guidance as well. I see angels. I call them interdimensional beings, and guided masters. I mean, there's so many words, and I think whatever works for you,
Yeah.
we'll use that word because my thing is religious beliefs have nothing to do with it because God comes in so many forms. So whatever message is for you, I will get. It doesn't like don't have to be restricted by that kind of value. And
Right.
I will just start a conversation with a person and kind of try to draw them out a little bit and see what brought them there. Sometimes people just want me to guess, and I'm like, I'm not psychic, right?
Yeah.
Like I just can go zip, zip. Sometimes I do. Sometimes before people come to my office, I will be angry, or I'll be crying, or I'll feel a heartache that isn't mine, and I know that's what's coming, right? I
Yeah.
know what's coming into the room, and then I have to see how to work with that. And then I just kind of through those guidances and through validation of this is your truth and your story, but how is that not working? How is it holding you back? And how do we heal it
Right.
and move forward? So I always say you got to feel it to heal it. I think Ayala Van Zant said that like years ago, but it's so true. It's just true. And it stinks, right? Like,
Yeah.
because
Well, most
that
people
part
avoid that.
hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will
So
do
I
anything to
help
avoid that.
them feel that.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes they get mad at me. And then I do energy work in the room as well. So it's similar to Reiki. It's definitely on a different vibration than Reiki. I think it's a higher vibration, not because I'm snooty and snotty, but just because Reiki is the worst sound in my ear. Like Reiki practitioners, when I walk by them, this is what I hear. And I'm like, oh, how is that healing? So I will like literally move my hand around the person's body. I don't touch them.
Mm.
And your body will tell me things that your mind and spirit don't. So where you're holding pain, where there might be disease or illness or something else, I will feel it in your body. I will see how your chakras are moving or often not moving, and if you have a boundary or don't. And I will energetically shift that for you. Mostly, I start with a very simple guided meditation, and then it kind of customs to who you are and what you're going through. So that's how every session ends.
Cool. So you had mentioned before that you weren't using your creativity. It wasn't, your previous job wasn't fulfilling or it didn't allow you to use your creativity in the way you wanted to. So now how do you feel?
Oh my God, I own it. I mean, like, so I love my creativity is all about my writing and my fiction writing, right? Because
Mhm.
so I have a book that's out on submission and it's called Dear Dead Drunk Girl.
Okay.
And it's a young adult fiction book about, my weirdness because I see dead people. So I play with that. And because I like helping people is a little bit about that. So the main character, Mary, the premise is what happens if the last thing the person that you love hears, she mishears before you die. I'm butchering it. So Mary has a younger sister. Her sister thinks the last thing she said to her is, I hate you. And then Mary dies.
Hmm.
So 10 years later, her sister's at Mary's grave and she raises a glass and she says, here's to Mary. You are nothing to me when you're alive and you're nothing to me dead. Psh. And Mary's at her grave and she's devastated.
Oh,
Um, and through a series of events, people start leaving her letters. But what no one expects is that Mary writes back.
oh, wow.
And Mary's heaven starts as a dive bar. And as she heals and helps other people, her bar transforms from a dive bar to a bar to a
Ah,
pub, to a diner until ultimately she's in the light of heaven.
oh, I love that.
I do too. So it gives me goosebumps even when I butchered it. I love it. And the one I'm working on now is called The Kiss of Death,
Okay.
where Death falls in love with a girl and he goes into a boy's body to kiss her. And when he kisses her, he loses his power.
Oh, wow. Ooh, that sounds
Right.
amazing.
So fun. So that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like I kind of go there.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
essays are a part of it too. Like just sharing bits of my story are super creative and I really enjoy that. I have a line now because my daughter's not allowed on social media, right? And she's like a teenager
Yes.
on I won't write about her anymore because I
Okay.
don't think it's fair or right. If she can't be, then I can't be. So I have to make it personal.
Right. So, Real Not Perfect, the title of this book,
Mm.
where did that concept come from and what do you hope to gain from putting this book out into the world?
Yeah, I want universal peace and harmony. Like I told you before, like my dream is Bill and Ted's Excellent
Yeah.
Adventure. I want my book on every continent and I hope it just brings one person peace and then that's a little bit of a better life. And if we just keep rippling that out, it can make the world better. On a really honest, serious note, because I'm kind of sarcastic, I hope you all can tell that, is that I had been working for a while as an intuitive healer, and I was on one of my walks. And when I walk, I meditate and I reach out to my woo woo people. And they're like, "You're going to write a book about it." I was like, "I am." And they're like, "Yep, you are." And I ran back to my car. I think my daughter was in sewing class and I started writing. I always have a notebook because ideas come all times.
Yeah.
I started writing. And then I was like, I think I want to do this. And my agent was like, "Can you write that for teens?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I spent a year writing this book, but for teens. I have to tell you, I was paranoid because I was so afraid of a parent getting wind of something that they wouldn't like.
Right.
Right. Even though I have actually had parents bring their teens to see me,
Hmm.
I was like, wow, what's that going to be like? And then ultimately, my agent's like, "I really like the book. I don't know how to sell this. So you can do it on your own." And I was like, this is an example of doing what I think is right to please someone.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun. Instead of doing what I knew was right, which was write this book for adults.
Yeah.
So I got back to the business of writing it for adults. And then COVID hit. And then people started dying. And then, all the racial tension hit. And I got super depressed. So I
Yeah.
had a draft, but I couldn't really move. Like I was literally weighted down by all of that. And then I was like, well, that's not very Holly. And I got my shit together. And then I decided to finish and publish it. And I picked a date. And even though it kind of made an impossible deadline for me, I'm that girl and I made
Yeah.
it happen. But for me, it was like, how can I share the experience of healing if you can't come in and have a session with me? That you can do it on your own because ultimately I really want to empower you. I tell that to all my clients. Like if you're going through something pretty intense, you'll see me for a couple of months, in a row, right? Depending on who and what it is. But after that, you'll probably just check in with me quarterly or 6 months just because you'll feel good. Like
Maintenance.
you feel good, that little check-in. But I want to empower you to take control of yourself.
Right.
So in my book, it really is a step by step process about dealing with what I see most commonly in my room, which is who are you? How do you define yourself? What's your family pathology? How do you pick and choose friends? Because that's something that's often not taught.
Yeah.
What is a boundary? You hear a lot about it. It's a pretty much a buzzword in the community.
Hmm.
Is it a wall? What is it? Like, and how does it work for you? My favorite is how to say the word no, because people who are people pleasers, right,
Yeah.
don't. And those are the people who come to me and they're exhausted and they feel taken advantage of and all these things. And then ultimately, what is self care on the next level beyond pretty clothes, fresh bath? It's what feeds your soul.
Right.
And, sprinkled throughout it is my sense of humor, which is my Holly's healing tips, which are really meant to be bite sized nuggets that you can take with you that would mean something to you. Like
Right.
my favorite is life's too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in uncomfortable relationships.
I
Because every
love
woman
that.
knows that bra, right? I have probably 3 that I still haven't thrown out because you spent good money on it.
Right. I know.
But let it go. Let go of that pokey thing that feels like it's suffocating you by the end of the day. That's not what your life is meant to be. Growing and learning is often through a pain point, right? Like we don't learn when we're happy.
Right. No, you learn through the struggle and the things that you go through.
Yeah, so that's what made me do it. And then I just kind of like went for it. And I just love it. Like, I can't tell you how many people told me, like, well, who's going to read that?
Oh, I can't
What's
wait. I already ordered it.
okay? Thank you so much. I know. I was like, wow, thanks for the encouragement. Thanks for like
I
trying
can't
to
wait.
shoot me down before I start. That feels
Yeah,
so
that's really
good.
nice. That sounds like somebody that wished
Boundary.
they wrote a book and are jealous that you did,
If you want to write a book, I'm here to cheer you on too, right?
right?
Like, do it.
That drives me nuts when I see people put people down. We should all be each other's cheerleader. If one person does well, it just raises everybody up.
Yeah, there's no limit to goodness, right?
No.
There's like,
She got
I
all the
know like
goodness. Now there's nothing left for
there's
me.
nothing left for me. I think, we all have pangs of, wow, that person's doing way better than me, right? I think that's a human
Sure.
reaction, but
Right.
don't stay in that. Like,
No, and use it as encouragement to do better yourself.
yeah.
Don't knock them down. They did great.
I know. I met another woman. She's like, you're inspired me. I'm like, let me know how I can help. Like, I'll tell you the mistakes I made. Don't make them.
Right. Well, I think that's why a lot of people speak and write books and do, because you want to save people the grief that you went through and teach them the lessons so they can get through their own stuff.
For sure. For sure. I talk a lot about like my mistakes and the things that happened to me in my life. I do that as a point so people know that, again, if something crappy happens in your life, it doesn't have to define you
Hmm.
and limit you. It just is a part of you and it informs your choices and your opinions
Yeah.
after. Like I have like a no bullshit meter. Like if I just can't, I can't with fake people.
Yeah.
I can't. And I can see them coming, right? And they hate me. They
Yeah.
see me coming too. They're like, and they attack. They say the most horrible things. And it's like, okay, just stay on your side of the street.
Right.
Just
Right.
stay, just
We're
go
good
away.
like
Yeah.
that. What do you think of perfection?
I
With
think
social
it's,
media and that whole,
I have a thing about that.
what did I think I've quoted this before, even in the podcast, but Seth Godin said, you're only seeing people's greatest hits albums.
Yeah, I think perfection it's impossible. It doesn't exist, right? So look what it's doing to our young stars. Like I love Demi Lovato. If I can get my book to you, Demi, if you're listening to this podcast, you just let me know. I want to send it to you so
And
bad
please
because when
let me
I
know
look
if
at
you
you,
are.
all I see, yeah, I see your pain. I see your pain and your struggles, and I want to swoop in and like help, right? I don't want to do it for her. See, that's a bad thing. Don't do that. But like I
Right.
want to help her somehow,
Get there.
give her help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So perfection is crap. Like I remember like I always wanted to weigh 125 pounds. It was like the
Mhm.
magic number, right? I want to weigh 125. And the day I weighed 124, I was desperate to be pregnant and I was so pissed that all I wanted to be was 165,
Yeah.
right? I wanted to be big, round, and pregnant, and I was skinny.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What? Like, yeah, look, that number is great, but I feel awful. I'm so unhappy. So I think perfection is crap. I have questions for people who only can put pictures up of them filtered. I have
Hmm.
a problem with super HD TV too. None of that is real. Like
Right.
I
Right.
like you're it like no one can see my face right now, but like my eyes are bugging, my hands shaking a lot. I just look, do I sometimes use filters? Yeah, because I woke up with my kids' zits on my face today,
Yeah.
and I don't want you to see that.
Right.
But I post a lot with no filter because I think we have to embrace aging. I think we have to embrace humanity. I always like to say, I love the flaws in people when I meet them. Like whatever makes their maybe body, face, whatever imperfect. I usually find that insanely attractive,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And
oh,
memorable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I had aged out. I always joke, I aged out of LA, right?
Yeah.
So, and in LA, there's always someone younger, prettier,
Sure.
skinnier.
Yeah.
It's just like, so that doesn't happen. So I think, I mean, like me, I'm 52. And like, what is that? Right. And then like you like start seeing like strange things on your face and gray hair in places and goat hairs on places. And you're like, how is it that I'm getting wrinkles and my kids acne? Like, there's no
Right.
balance. But I think we need to talk about that. And Oprah's not on anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So
I
we
mean,
got to
she
fill
has
it
her
in.
thing, but her platform is, evolved into like something different. So
Mhm.
what I love like about your podcast and all of this is like the genuine conversation. So please don't go for perfection. Try your best.
I think the
Like if you,
imperfection is the fun stuff.
yeah, unless it's a cup you're making and you leave a hole. Like then,
Right. And
maybe
it's, yeah, not so good.
yeah, do something else. But yeah, I know. I think, yeah,
And
the
I
quirks in us
seeing
are the fun part.
totally. I'm a designer by trade, and the imperfection oftentimes leads to the best designs. When you like
Hmm.
go at something with your original concept and you make it perfect, it loses something. Where if you follow that trail of imperfection, sometimes you get to a whole new place.
Yeah, this is a funny one about design. Anytime I go into someone's house and it's so perfect and it's designed and like each pillow has the foof crinkle in the middle. So like, and there's no dust
Yeah.
and you have children and pets, I know you're messed up
Oh,
because
right,
you
right.
are controlling your
Yeah,
environment
yeah.
to portray something. So I am like, what is up with that?
Or that
A friend of
perfect
mine's
Christmas
college
tree.
roommate was like that, and
Yeah.
all her hangers were
Oh,
evenly spaced. And like, I think my memory, and this could be my imagination. So I think her shirts were like on white hangers and her pants were on blue.
were they
And
like ombre?
yeah, and I just messed with all that shit. I was like, okay, I'm sure she hated me then.
Yeah.
She probably
Or
hates me now.
the
But
perfect Christmas tree that has no real ornaments on it. They're all like store bought, like no macaroni things that your kids made. Or I'm always like,
yeah,
huh, yeah, I don't know about that.
I know you're hiding. Anyway, I just know you're hiding something like
Right.
when it's like that. So, yeah. And it's a lot of work. It's an exhausting amount of work
Right.
to keep that facade.
Hmm.
And how sad and crumbled or hurt are you underneath that you think you have no value unless you are this thing?
Right. Right.
And there's a point where I help people all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Face the imperfect, embrace the imperfect.
embrace yourself.
Yeah.
That's the real, right? Like if I think a little bit of like what's going on in the world is we think everyone can only have one opinion.
Hmm.
No. And if someone has a different opinion, maybe just instead of reacting, just listen.
Right. Right. Have
And
a
then,
conversation instead of judging and
and you
coming at
might
them with your
agree,
stuff.
right? You can agree on 1,000 other things, but you might just not agree on one thing and it doesn't make them evil.
No. Yeah. Yeah. So, how can we, as normal people walking around the earth, use our intuition to help ourselves? How do we tune into that a little bit better?
That's a good one. So I think everyone has some sort of gift. Like I didn't realize not everyone had mine until I got sick and mine went away and everything got quiet.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, where did everything go? Like, where
Yeah.
is it? And then I had to like rewire when I got healthy to like get it all back. I think I do this with a lot of people. When you're getting a signal, like if your gut is hurting you, something ain't right. If you have
Mhm.
a constant headache, something ain't right. Like the world is honestly trying to get your attention. Your body is trying to, pull you back or make you pay attention to something.
Right.
And when we're really like stuck on an idea of how it needs to be, we don't pay attention to that.
Hmm.
But I am like if anyone is wondering, do I have the gift? Or in any way. And I think meditation can be super hard and not everyone can like sit in a chair and go, oh,
Right.
I don't even think that's real. I
No.
think you can meditate when you're walking because you're just like in the moment. No
Hmm.
phone, no
Right.
internet, no, you're just a person getting quiet with nature, basically, right? You could be sitting by the ocean or go. I'm a big believer in the walk and do it. Or you can hit golf balls. You're singularly minded, right? You're just focusing on your breath. It's all the same.
Hmm.
And then you can just ask yourself, how do I feel? Because I don't think people do that.
No, I think
So,
people
what's the answer?
can.
And then pay attention. And that's your
Yeah.
intuition.
I don't think there's enough emphasis on turning inside. I think there's so much consumption and very little, quiet time with yourself and really just listening to, having these conversations with yourself. What do I really want?
Yeah,
I
and we're
think,
always looking for the external validation, right? Like it's really
yeah,
hard not to in this day and age, right? Because they made our phones addictive, right?
yes.
They did. That's everything
Oh
is
my gosh.
designed.
Yeah.
Did you watch that
The social dilemma.
special?
And
So
I'm in
whatever.
this industry to a point, and I was even like, wow.
Right. And I needed to reach more people. So it's like that double-edged sword. I
Hmm.
think, I mean, a mindful thing, if I could give a really easy tip, it's an easy tip, but not easy to do, would be in the morning, have your coffee without your phone
Hmm.
and see how much anxiety the idea brings up, right?
Right.
Because I'm guessing most people don't need to answer an email before 8:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
Right. So my mindfulness is while I'm getting my kid ready to go to school in the morning, although I have the bus app, so I know where her bus is, so we're on
Right.
time. But I try very much my very best. And most days I'm okay. I don't check email on my phone. I'm not making the phone more important than the person.
Yeah. Oh, I check myself on that all the time. It's so hard, but it's
And I put my
important.
phone away at
Mhm.
night. I unplug it. Not everyone, if your phone is your alarm clock, stop it right now. Go get yourself a cheap, go to Target, go anywhere, get yourself an alarm clock, and you take that literal energetic vibration of lack, less than, answer, da 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 da, away from your bedroom, and you put it in the kitchen or an office or stick it in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Put it in the powder room in your house because that's the last place you're going to be looking for your phone. And even though the first half hour you might have anxiety or you might be literally itching, you'll see how addicted you are. After an hour, you'll be like, huh, I feel downright happy because
Right.
you're not looking for nothing.
Right.
And
Right.
then your mind has time to figure out what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Because comparing yourself on social media, I'm going to break it to you, it's not making you happy.
No. No. I have a friend, he just told me he tracks his kids' phone usage, and his daughter, he was able to figure out she picked up the phone, I think it was in one day, 500 times because he could see every single time, like, I guess the action, or I'm not sure. But I was like, that's insane. But yeah, it's something that's kind of come and controlled most of our lives. So
Uh
I
huh.
think switching that off is a good way to start looking at yourself and talking to yourself and
Yeah.
finding
I
that
mean,
connection.
I especially do it on Sundays.
Mm,
Like Sunday night, I try to put my phone away between 7:30 and 8. And that means like not going back to it.
yeah,
Some days I'm really good at it, other days I'm not. Or my family went on a trip and we were in Wyoming 2 years ago. And as we were turning a mountain, the driver of the vehicle we were in said, "So, last chance to look at anything." Because there was no cell reception where we were in the
yeah.
mountains. And a week of no phone.
Oh
It
wow.
was heaven.
Was it?
It was heaven. We were like, we could actually relax.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Nothing
then you're not
pulled us that,
beholden.
yeah, yeah. Lots of
That's cool.
spam email when we got back, but I got to tell you, that was like heaven. We were just outside enjoying every activity that we were doing. Our phones were only good for taking pictures.
Yeah. We're going to Yellowstone in August. That's a good
That's what we
chance to.
did.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
I'm so excited. But maybe
Are you
that's
going to a
a.
ranch or just Yellowstone?
We are going to Bozeman because my best friend lives there with his wife and their son. And then we're gonna spend a couple days in Yellowstone.
Oh
So
yeah, you got to.
camping,
Um,
hiking, river runs through it, fly fishing, all of that.
oh yeah, that's what we did. I spent hours and hours on a horse every day, fishing,
Ah,
hiking. We did some skeet and trap shooting. Like it was just, oh my
yeah.
God, it was the best.
But it's one of those things that I kept thinking like, how are we operating right now? How do we want to spend our time? What can we do right now to make this situation the best that we possibly can? And we had originally had plans to go to Disney, and I was like, you know what? We went to Acadia right before school started, and just absolutely
I
the
haven't been
relationship
there.
with the kids there hiking, and like we did a rock scramble. It was just such an incredible time. So we wanted to kind of recreate that. So we figure nature, physical activity, this would be, it was another national park. So, and we
Yeah,
get to
that
see my
sounds like
best
a good
friend.
one. I know now I'm jealous. You have someone in Bozeman. I'd be like back there. No, we went to a ranch and they like planned every activity. So I started planning the trip to Yellowstone. Then I realized I would still have to answer what's for dinner, where are we
Right.
going, how we getting there. I was like, that's not a vacation for
No.
me. So I found a ranch and they do everything. And like there was cowboy singers at night,
Oh,
there
how
was like
cool.
campfires, they had square dancing. I'm like telling you, it was like camp for everyone. And there was like 10 other kids besides my kid, all different
Uh-huh.
kind of ages. But then she got to free range,
Oh, that's awesome.
right? All over and like do family stuff and be alone with other kids. And just that was just such a beautiful experience. And that's kind of what we're missing. That is the same reason why we picked North Carolina to pick up our family. So there was no pressure for my kid to be something that an LA kid needs to be.
Hmm.
And she could free range. Like people say, go outside and play here,
Yeah.
right? And like the cops aren't called for being at a park. And like,
Right. Right.
it's cool.
Yeah.
There's a
Different
little of
way.
there's a tiny bit of innocence left here. And I kind of like that for her.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. First of all, I can't wait to read your book. Um, but I just think this is such an important message for people to hear. Embracing life's imperfection and going for it. And I love hearing how you've made those choices. And I think people hearing how other people have done the thing that they're trying to do helps them along their journey. So thank you so much.
Oh, no, thanks, Kendra. You're awesome. Let's
Well,
keep talking.
yes. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with another episode. Have a great day. I want to thank Miss Holly Hughes for coming on the show. I hope this spoke to you guys as much as it spoke to me. I think it's so important that we take time to really figure out what we're doing with our lives, who we are, ask ourselves the tough questions, and let go of the idea of perfection. If this spoke to you guys and you want to reach out to Holly, check out her unicorn page. We have all of her links up there, including how to get her book, or you can just search her on Amazon. The book is Real Not Perfect: How to Become Your Happy, Authentic Self. Come on back next Sunday. We're going to have another episode. I love you guys for listening. Thank you so much. And our show is growing like crazy. And I really appreciate you guys sharing and commenting and rating Tribe of Unicorns. So keep doing that. And I'll keep recording. And I hope that we are bringing a little bit of positivity to the world and changing that vibe and raising the vibe. Have a great week, guys.